Good afternoon, everyone. This is TMac Talks with Jim Koetting, owners of Jim's Gun Sales LLC, hosted by Tracy McDonald. Jim is in the business. He started out doing gun sales, and then he got into his own side business of doing the CNC Plasma Cutting. He's been in Jim's Gun Sales LLC for 20 years, and now the owner of CNC Plasma Cutting for 2 years. Well, we're glad to have you on board, Jim.
Thank you.
What is CNC Plasma Cutting?
Well, the CNC stands for Computer Numeric Control. So it takes an image and using numerical points, the computer will tell the plasma cutter where to cut and actually draw the shape that you have in the computer and turn it into a metal design.
I know it's hard to. What is, let's say, your average time that it takes for the most customers for by the time you start to the time it's done cutting, probably?
Depends a lot on the size of the piece. Generally, as far as just the cutting portion of it, it's actually fairly quick. Usually within once the design is drawn in the computer, it usually takes only just a few minutes. The biggest portion of time involved is actually getting the design into the computer and making all the edits and everything needed to make it look as clean as it can be.
We were talking about how long you've been doing plasma cutting, and you mentioned 2 years. Have you added on since the beginning of that 2 years to your operation?
Yes. Originally, I started out, the table I had was a 4 foot by 4 foot table with just a Power Max 45 plasma cutter, which is capable of cutting up to about 3/8 of an inch thick or so. And then recently I acquired another 4 by 4 table and married the two tables together. And now I've got a 4 by 8 table. Also purchased a new Power Max 85, which I can now cut up to 1 inch thick material.
That's a pretty good deep cut then for metal.
Yeah, it takes it goes pretty slow when you're doing the 1 inch thick stuff, only about 6 inches a minute. Compared to like a 14 gauge metal, I can cut it about 200 inches a minute.
That is a difference. For coating and coloring, do you offer the metal coating?
I do not. Other than maybe a little basic spray painting or something like that. I'm not a painter, unfortunately. But I do have a guy that I know that does powder coating. So I could always use him to get things powder coated if a customer wants something like that.
Does the other gentleman offer coating in colors?
Yes. Yes. So he's got a wide variety of color options available.
Awesome. If somebody was going to place an order with you, how can someone reach out to you to be able to place the order?
They can call me at 573-535-8540, which is my cell phone, or text me at that number. They can also reach me. I'm on Facebook. They can message me through Facebook Messenger.
And if per se, let's say you were busy that day, you most likely will probably be able to reach out to them later in the evening, just so they don't think that you missed them.
Yes. My plasma cutting thing is kind of a side job anyhow. So yeah, usually it's evenings and weekends as of right now.
And if we'll switch over to pricing now, Jim, about how much does the project cost the customer?
Pricing varies depending on the size of the material, the size of the project. It's quite a few different variables. generally just give a rough estimate. Assign, let's say, oh, 2 square foot of area on, say, a 14 gauge would roughly run about maybe $50.
So not too bad for time, effort, computer, and materials.
Correct.
We go over to shipping now. How do you ship out your products?
If someone's far enough away that they needed something shipped to them, I can use either postal service or UPS.
And do you offer the flexibility of the customer a tracking number?
Definitely.
And do any of the customers, or do you offer insurance for the packaging?
If they use UPS, and if the customer would like to have insurance for it, yes, I can apply insurance to it.
Always the nice safety feeling of if in case something happens to your package between there and here.
Right. Exactly.
Warranty wise, I know it's metal. Does a completed project come with a warranty?
Not really. I've never seen any reason to have any kind of a warranty. I mean, it's like you said, it is metal. There's certain things, if you don't coat it or paint it, it's gonna rust. So, and then depending on the type of project, there are some people out there that like it just a rusty metal look. So that's always an option too.
On your past projects, tell me about some of your projects you have created.
Oh, I have a customer that has a welding shop that does custom hand railing, and I cut flanges for him. It's a round flange so that he can attach it weld it to the bottom of his hand railing so he can fasten them to the floor or to a concrete sidewalk or something like that. I've done several signs for people, address signs, names, last names with some kind of fancy artwork, depending on what the customer likes or what they need to go with their decor, so to say.
It is amazing what you can do with a computer nowadays.
Yes, it is.
How do you inspect the finished parts and make sure they meet all specifications?
Generally, I just give a visual inspection and then I'll take a picture of it and send it to the customer for approval.
That always makes it a lot easier. That way, you know for sure if they're happy with it or they're not before it gets too far.
Definitely.
As a CNC operator, how comfortable are you with interpreting work orders, engineering designs, and orthographic drawings?
Pretty confident in it. And like I said, I will make a drawing and then send a picture of the drawing to the customer and allow them to make any suggestions or changes that need to be made. So that way we don't have to cut it and then then they find out that, well, that's not quite the way I wanted it. So I usually send the drawing to a customer for proofing before we cut the actual finished design.
So say it's hard to guess what a customer's thinking, isn't it?
Sometimes, yes.
Imagine you discovered a technical issue when manufacturing a custom part for a client. How would you handle the situation?
Generally, if there's a defect or imperfection in it that isn't going to work, generally I'll scrap the part and make a replacement. There are times that the machine will malfunction or something like that, and
we'll talk about what safety precautions do you take when operating a CNC machine?
Well, CNC plasma cutter. Plasma cutter, you've got metal sparks and a lot of fumes. So, safety precautions. I've got a ventilation system that draws all the fumes out of the building. Uh, wear safety glasses, wear leather gloves when you're touching the hot parts, things like that.
Awesome. Can't keep making if you hurt yourself in the process.
Nope.
And here's a bonus question for you that I just thought of. What is the most unique or surprising item you have made?
Well, I've had several interesting ones. I've got a customer that does reproduction gas and oil signs. We made a 3-foot by 4-foot mobile oil Pegasus. That one was pretty interesting, but also done quite a few interesting jobs for my friend Pete at St. Gen Tool and Welding. But I'd have to say the most unique project that I got to do is I made a fuel tank for a Sherman tank. That was quite the interesting project.
How long did that take you to complete from start to finish?
Oh wow, that was a challenge because this thing was probably the oddest shaped tank that I've ever seen, and I probably had at least 10 hours, maybe more, in that project.
What was your biggest challenge with that project?
The biggest challenge was the fact that one was all the different shapes and trying to measure out all those different shapes, and then the other was that the tank that I was working with was an old tank that was rusty and it actually had water in it and froze and it was kind of swollen up and everything. So it made it quite challenging to get all the measurements right.
And do you recall what the customer's reaction was when he came to see it?
He was quite impressed.
I was just thinking of people's imaginations of what they could come up with wanting on a sign.
Well, now there are quite a few different ideas out there that people have come up with, and the fun part is making that idea come to life.
And surprising them, looking the looks on their faces when they come to pick it up.
That definitely, a lot of great comments, and very appreciative.
Awesome. A happy customer will be a return customer, and will be a lot of nice referrals.
Definitely.
Well, Jim, thanks for being on TMac Talks. We greatly appreciate it, and we hope to be talking to you soon in the future.
Sounds great. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. TMac Talks out.
Now let's see Jim's CNC Plasma in operation.